What's up, guys? Welcome to another Trade Destinations video. Probably our last because we wanted to cover the top uh, players available heading into the 2023 trade deadline. So, Vladimir Tarasenko is today's topic. He's been linked to the New York Islanders, New Jersey Devils, New York Rangers, the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Vegas Golden Knights. He's a guy that's been in and out of rumors. He wanted a trade out of St. Louis because of how they handled his whole injury situation a couple of years ago. Um, Not only that, they exposed him during the expansion draft as well when Seattle was entering the league. So that kind of assaulted their relationship. And but he's been playing good hockey. Last year, 82 points in 75 games, 34 goals, 48 assists. This season, 29 points in 38 games, 10 goals, and 19 assists. He's currently 31 years old on the last year of his contract, where he's being paid $7.5 million. And he was drafted first in the first round, 16 overall in 2010 by the St. Louis Blues. And there's a big market for a top six wingers essentially, and I do believe that he will be traded at the deadline. But Luca, there was an interesting report that came out recently concerning Tarasenko and the New York Rangers.
Yeah, so Jeremy Rutherford, who reports on the Blues, basically said that he basically just saying that knowing Tarasenko, he'd be very interested and would be head over heels to go play with Panarin potentially in New York. Now, there has been always talks and rumors about Tarasenko ending up in New York, whether it was the Islanders or the Rangers. There's been talks about him potentially heading to New Jersey as well. In that regard, Tarasenko is kind of in the same boat as kind of where Timo Meyer is right now, where let's be honest, they're pretty much linked with every single player, the three New York teams, or well, four New York teams if you count Buffalo too. But um, at that point, I just think that it makes a lot of sense for him. And also, the other thing is too is that you have to also take into consideration that he's kind of in the same boat as kind of Patrick Kane, because teams are waiting on what Patrick Kane's decision is going to be, right? If you're the Rangers, if you're the Islanders, if you're even the Devils to some extent, although you have interest in Timo Meyer, although you have interest in Vladimir Tarasenko, a lot of teams are waiting on what Patrick Kane is going to do. And that's going to basically fluctuate the market because, obviously with Timo Meyer, there is interest. I believe Timo Meyer gets traded come deadline day. I believe that Patrick Kane gets traded come deadline day. And I also believe guys like Tarasenko and Brock Besser get traded at deadline day as well. And that's what makes this trade deadline very interesting kind of going into it, because there's a lot of really good players that are available, and there's a lot of teams that want these guys, but it's also going to be a question of salary cap. It's going to be a question of interest and fit. And I just think that for the Rangers right now, the reason they haven't, let's say, pounced on an opportunity is because they're kind of waiting to see what all their options are going to be. However, I think Tarasenko makes sense for the Rangers. I think Tarasenko is a player that can fit very well on the Rangers um, forward core. But at the same time, I also see Tarasenko ending up in the Islanders, and the reason why is because at the same time, the Islanders just got Bo Horvat. They've won 2 straight games since Bo Horvat's been in the lineup, and they're still a
Yeah.
team that's looking for goal scoring. And I think Tarasenko provides that. And having a first line of Matt Barzal, Bo Horvat, and Vladimir Tarasenko could really help the Islanders not only now, but in the future as well for them too. So I think those are two teams that make a lot of sense. But like I said, it really depends on what the market's going to be. And I think Tarasenko is not necessarily a top priority for a lot of teams in this upcoming deadline, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is a guy who won a Stanley Cup with Ryan O'Reilly. He's a guy that has dealt with injuries in the last couple of seasons, but has been healthier lately. Not the healthiest, but a lot healthier than what he was before a couple years ago. Um, he's a guy that obviously will provide primary scoring. He's a guy that's always known for that. One of the best Russians in the league. But in terms of where he falls in the depth chart, according to wingers available, I have Timo Meyer number one, Patrick Kane, then Tarasenko at number three. Then under that is Brock Besser. Um, so for me, if I have to just go based off, yes, everyone is getting traded out of those four guys. I would say that Besser gets traded to Vegas, Tarasenko gets traded to the Islanders, Kane goes to the Rangers, and Meyer goes to New Jersey. I think those are the most logical fits. But it takes one of those guys to say, no, I don't want to get traded. In terms of, the most likely case is Kane that says, no, I don't want to be traded. I'm just gonna play the rest of my season out with Chicago and then test the market in the offseason. And then it changes up the whole list in terms of predictions of where we
And
see Tarasenko and other forwards being traded.
And the other thing is too is that like it's very hard to kind of predict Tarasenko because I don't know if you guys have watched the Artemo Meyer trade destinations or even to some extent Brock Besser from last year and all the talk that we've had around Brock Besser, but Tarasenko pretty much is the same teams linked to him, right? Minnesota, the three New York teams, Buffalo to some extent. There's been rumors about Seattle as well. I think Carolina is a team that you can definitely watch out for as well. I think they need scoring, and especially with Pacioretty being out for as long as he was, and the fact that he only played I think 8 games all year. Adding a guy like Tarasenko on a rental deal could make sense for them, but I think Tarasenko it's going to be tough to see where he ends up just because, like you said before, right? He's not a top priority. I don't think he's a top priority for a lot of teams right now, but at the same time. The domino is going to fall, right? The moment Timo Meyer gets off the board, the moment or if Patrick Kane decides, listen, I'm not getting traded, I'm staying in Chicago for one more year, that elevates Tarasenko's value, that elevates his market even more because now you've got teams that are in on Patrick Kane that now are going to turn their sights to Tarasenko, are going to turn their sights to Timo Meyer, and it's going to make the market more interesting. So if you're St. Louis, it's kind of a waiting game at the moment for you. There is rumors that Tarasenko wanted to get traded. However, he also rescinded that trade request during the year last year and basically said that he wouldn't mind staying in St. Louis. I do believe there is going to be an ending between him and St. Louis at some point. However, whether that's going to be at the deadline or in free agency, I do see Tarasenko moving on. The problem with Tarasenko, and so this is where things get interesting now, because Vladimir Tarasenko is 31 years old, right? He's had a lot of issues with his injuries. He's dealt with a lot of, things in his life that have caused him to, miss a lot of significant time. And what's interesting with Tarasenko is he kind of missed a lot of his prime career, right? In 2019-20, he only played 10 games. In 2020-2021, he only played 24. So he's in those 2 years, he only played a total of 34 games. And yes, he had a bounce back season last year of 82 points in 75 games, but there's a concern with Tarasenko, and the fact that he's 31 years old, it makes a team a little bit hesitant to get him. Not because of the fact that, as a rental, I think it's okay. You have him for 20 games plus the playoffs. That's not a big deal. But if you're a team looking to bring Tarasenko in and potentially re-sign him, what's that going to look like? Because for Tarasenko, I don't know what his true value is, right? Are you valuing him based on what the player that he can be and what he was last year, or are you valuing him basically saying this guy's only really played, he hasn't played that much hockey in the last 4 years. We don't know what to expect from this guy, and we don't know what his value is. To me, I think it starts with a first round pick, in my opinion, just because Vlad Tarasenko and what he's capable of doing. I think it starts with a first round pick, but I don't know if teams are going to pay as high for a guy like Tarasenko than, let's say, what they would pay for Patrick Kane or
No,
Timo Meyer.
no, no, no. Besser obviously would be the most affordable. Not only that, it's not a rental. There's term on his contract. Timo Meyer too. So maybe those guys become the priority because they have term on their contract and they're younger. Not only that, Tarasenko and Kane are older, but even though Tarasenko hasn't been the best the last 4 seasons. Last year was the healthiest season, playing 75 games. The year before, 24 games. The year before that, only 10. This year, only 38. Teams may be hesitant, and same thing with Kane not having the best season without Alex DeBrincat being on his line this season. Um, you're essentially paying for the name of Tarasenko and Kane and what they've accomplished throughout their careers. Maybe not necessarily what they're capable of doing now. They're still very good players, keep in mind, but they are obviously not in their prime anymore. They're both playoff performers. They're fantastic. Tarasenko has 60 points in 90 games, 41 goals and 19 assists. He's been in the playoffs almost every year, basically, with the St. Louis Blues. He's a playoff player, but you have to take into consideration age. What are you willing to give up for just a pure rental? Do you have the intention of signing this guy to an extension if everything works out? There's all those things to take into consideration. Honestly, if I have to go based off what I was saying, I do believe the New York Islanders are the best fit for Tarasenko. He fits that mold of they're experienced, very experienced in terms of their forward core. Everyone is pretty much, over the age of 27, 28 years old there. And, I think it would be fantastic to have an addition like that um, on the New York Islanders.
Well, I think for me, Tarasenko, I agree that I think he'll end up probably in the Islanders. One dark horse team that I think he could probably end up as well as Dallas, and the
Yeah.
reason I think so is because I think Dallas just they have a need for someone like Tarasenko. And I think just to help fill out their top six, I think it would work. I think Dallas can make it work. I think Dallas have other interests though right now in terms of Timo Meyer, Patrick Kane, and even Brock Besser. So I don't know what Dallas's perception is going to be if they want to go younger or necessarily older and more proven. But I do believe come March 3rd, that Vladimir Tarasenko will probably be on a different team. I think he probably ends up in Dallas. That's my dark horse team that I think he ends up. The most likely scenario is, like you mentioned, Chris, he most likely ends up in New York. I think it's a fit for him. I think, especially with the Islanders and the fact that Lou Lamoriello pretty much makes moves because, he's just the type of guy that literally throws things out of like thin air
And he
and
likes
basically.
older, experienced
Yeah, but
forwards
not only
too.
that, expect the unexpected with Lou. That's always what I've learned from watching him and stuff. And the fact that he brought in Bo Horvat, and the fact that the Islanders are winning games now, I think if the Islanders really want to go for it and really send a message to the league and to the Metropolitan Division as well, adding Tarasenko makes their team 10 times better. And not only that, but it shows to the Islanders fans that they are trying to win and that they're trying to become competitive. And they've got a good team, the Islanders. I mean, they're good defensively. They have a good goaltending. All they really need is the offense, and I think they can do it with the acquisition of Tarasenko and obviously the acquisition of Bo
Yeah.
Horvat. So
They won 3 games in a row, and, if they continue at this rate, I do believe that they will make the playoffs.
yeah,
Everything is pointing in that direction. So, guys, we'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Where does Tarasenko end up? If we covered any of the teams that you root for, make sure to write your thoughts about, what we just said in this video, and also what would you be willing to give up for a guy like Tarasenko? And if we didn't mention any teams that you think he ends up, please make sure to write down in the comment section below. If you haven't subscribed to our channel already, please subscribe, like this video, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Young Guns podcast.